Even Donald Trump's own generals know that this war is not just illegitimate and illegal that he is carrying out right now, but it is idiotic. It is idiotic, much like everything else about MAGA, much like the people right now bemoaning this war and telling us, well, this isn't what I voted for. Well, absolutely it is, because if you are a Republican who checked the box next to the name Trump, you are stupid, and you should know that. Donald Trump cons you because that is what he's been doing his entire life, and everybody, including those who voted for him and some of those in his administration, are starting to wake up to it. It is what one of his generals said before Congress, admitting to the illegality of this war and the stupidity of it. But it all starts with Donald Trump's latest announcement about how we are getting in deeper into a war that Pete Hegseth says isn't endless. It's just gonna go on forever, apparently. Trump wrote on Truth Social moments ago, he said, moments ago, at my direction, the United States Central Command executed one of the most powerful bombing raids in the history of the Middle East and totally obliterated every military target in Iran's crown jewel. And our weapons are the most powerful and sophisticated that the world has ever known, but for reasons of decency, I have chosen not to wipe out the oil infrastructure on the island. However, should Iran or anyone else do anything to interfere with the free and safe passage of ships through the Strait of Hormuz, I will immediately reconsider this decision. During my first term and currently, I have rebuilt our military into the most lethal power and effective force by far anywhere in the world. Iran has no ability to defend anything that we want to attack. There is nothing they can do about it. Iran will never have a nuclear weapon, nor will it have the ability to threaten the United States of America, the Middle East, or for that matter, the world. Donald Trump really means Israel. Iran's military and all others involved with this terrorist regime would be wise to lay down their arms and save what's left of the country, which isn't much. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Now, journalist Yashar Ali, who posted this tweet from Donald Trump, also wrote, Donald Trump says the U.S. military has conducted strikes on Karg Island. The island is Iran's main crude oil export terminal. Roughly 90% of Iran's oil passes through it. The Islamic Republic has repeatedly signaled that attacks on its core oil infrastructure, especially this island, would be a major red line. This has potential to be a major escalation, but we'll have to wait and see. So oil prices are going up. We are already feeling those effects. And Donald Trump decides escalation is what we want. In order to prevent in advance, I guess, which is this is what we do now. We start conflicts saying that they're preventative, prevent any strikes on oil tankers, ships moving through the Strait of Hormuz. Donald Trump says, do you know what? How about I just bomb them again? How about I just escalate this even more? That'll be great. Great idea there. It's idiotic. It's nonsensical. And Pete Hegseth is also furious, much like Donald Trump, who I guess who takes out his anger by bombing people. Hegseth is responding to this by criticizing the media before we get to the general criticizing Hegseth.
They're confused and we know it. Our response, we will keep pressing, we will keep pushing, keep advancing, no quarter, no mercy for our enemies. Yet some in this crew, in the press, just can't stop. Allow me to make a few suggestions. People look up at the TV and they see banners, they see headlines. I used to be in that business, and I know that everything is written intentionally. For example, a banner or a headline, Mideast war intensifies, splashing on the screen the last couple of days, alongside visuals of civilian or energy targets that Iran has hit, because that's what they do. What should the banner read instead? How about Iran increasingly desperate? Because they are. They know it, and so do you, if it can be admitted. Or more fake news from CNN. Reports that the Trump administration underestimated the Iran war's impact on the Strait of Hormuz. Patently ridiculous, of course. For decades, Iran has threatened shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. This is always what they do, hold the strait hostage. CNN doesn't think we thought of that. It's a fundamentally unserious report. The sooner David Ellison takes over that network, the better.
So you're telling me it's CNN's fault? That's who's in the wrong here? CNN for reporting on this? And then Pete Hegseth says, no mercy. So we're hearing from Donald Trump that he's He's liberating the people of Iran. At the same time, as Pete Hegseth says, we're showing no mercy. So I'm just not sure what the point is here, because there is no point. It is idiotic. And that is exactly what a Trump administration official, a current general, had to say. And I just don't think you could have put this better.
In the war, and what I've observed over the course of studying air power in history is that anytime you attack a civilian population, you usually end up finding that it just hardens their resolve. We take this all the way back to the London Blitz in World War II.
Right.
The Brits just had a stiff upper lip and kept on fighting. And I think that's what we've seen in Ukraine.
We bomb these people, and then they hate us. We bomb them, and then they hate us. You know, you hear so much complaining from Republicans about refugees from nations with refugee crises that we started. You hear them talk about, well, you know, why are people fleeing these countries? Maybe because we destabilized them. Look at all of Latin America. So are you now going to say, oh, these Venezuelans, right, these people coming in with temporary protected status, why are they all here? It's because you're blowing up their countries and toppling their governments. This has been a historical trend. And at the beginning of this administration, you completely gut USAID. And so you're creating more sickness, more famine, more destabilization, and then you complain when refugees come to America. Do you not see the connection here? You know, I always get a laugh, not that I participate in their politics as much as I do mine, and ours, I'd say, in the US, but when I see, you know, kind of the racist, conservative Brits be like, what's with all these Indian people? It's like, my brother in Christ, what are you saying? Do you not think that maybe you were a little involved with that? No? If you're going to be a part of destabilizing the Middle East, and then you're complaining when there are refugees from the Middle East, you might want to think back one step and how we got there. That is what this general is saying. That is what this general is saying. We bomb people and then they hate us. And that's what we're doing. He later went on to admit the fact that, yeah, it was us involved in the bombing of the elementary school. 175 people dead, most of them schoolgirls. So of course people are going to hate that America. And so think of what Donald Trump has taken away from you, but selfishly my generation. Right? Think of what Republican presidents have taken away from my generation. This idea that there would be a middle class waiting for us, which maybe for a lot of you, if you're a little bit older, you inherited. A GI Bill, I don't know, unions that weren't busted by Ronald Reagan yet, at least that infrastructure. So that's gone. Ability to afford a house, that's not happening. Donald Trump, in response to a bill to make housing more affordable, build more affordable housing. What did Donald Trump say to Mike Johnson? Nobody gives a fuck. Those were his exact words. All the lumber we get from Canada to build houses, tariffs. The labor coming into this country that builds these houses, patriotic immigrants. Donald Trump is trying to terrify them, kick them out, threaten them, whatever it might be. So costs are going up on construction there. Donald Trump ruined that part of the American dream. The workforce decimated by unregulated AI. That starts with entry-level jobs first, hurting my generation. Never has there been such a disparity in the history of this country. And people coming out of college, the youngest slice of the workforce, and their ability to get a job as compared to the rest of the workforce. It has always been easier for young people to get in the workforce. That is not the case anymore, and that number is growing. Donald Trump has set our future up for unmanageable debt, spending more, increasing the deficit than any other president in history. And he did so more than Joe Biden did even before COVID. And now we're spending more money that we don't have and we don't need to spend on another endless war. So we got a couple of strikes there. Let's talk about the last one, that sentiment. We bomb them and then they hate us. We are hated. We are hated on the world stage. People do not like Americans because of one selfish, egotistical, insecure little fuck. People don't like Americans. When you were growing up, I'm sure that was different. That is not the case for my generation. People do not like us on the world stage, and that blows. I don't know how else to say it. That is incredibly disappointing. And what does Trump think of all of this? He thinks it's a joke. And that is how this administration is communicating it. Lawrence O'Donnell, I think, talked about it in the perfect way, and it just makes me furious.
New York Times television critic James Panoza writes, "The meme videos suggest that war is a movie and that movies are war, and so are sports and games, that American culture's whole run of fireballs, smackdowns, and shoot-'em-ups is of one piece with the administration's militainment aesthetic. It used to be only strident detractors of pop culture who argued that macho entertainments were priming their audiences for war. Now that's simply the implicit position of the White House." The criticism that Donald Trump and the incompetents working for him in the White House have encountered since putting out these videos has only encouraged them to put out more of them, because that's the way their perversity works. They must be surprised that their propaganda videos, the stupidest ones in history, have not won them support for their war. No American war has ever faced as much opposition in this country as Donald Trump's war has faced in the first weeks of this war. And wars do not get more popular in America as they continue. And once again, Donald Trump said something that no other president has ever said about war. Quote, "Anytime I want it to end, it will end." That apparently means it will end when gasoline prices have gone too high for too long, or the stock market has gone too low for too long. But it will not end on the terms Donald Trump originally demanded, unconditional surrender. Today, the new 56-year-old Ayatollah Khomeini issued a written statement saying, "Every member of the nation who is martyred by the enemy constitutes a separate case in the file of revenge." Since Donald Trump said there was nothing to be afraid of in the Strait of Hormuz, the New York Times reports, at least 16 oil tankers, cargo, and other commercial ships have been attacked in the Persian Gulf since the U.S.-Israeli war against Iran began nearly 2 weeks ago. Iran has claimed responsibility for several of the attacks.
They think they can meme their way out of this. They can joke their way out of this. But to us, it's not a joke. It's my future. It's our lives. It's not a joke. And we're going to keep calling it out on this show every single day.